I'm taking the team total. I'm taking first quarter, first half, full game, taking it all. OU all the way. I lost so much money on OU.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. Cast starts from all crazy.
And they run through our ass like shit through a tin horn, man.
That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss.
What is up, and welcome to Not Another CFB Pod. This is the weekend review show. We're going to be looking at the divisional round, NFL playoffs. Had some good games, had some stinkers. My Cowboys lost. You guys already know. We'll get to that. First off, want to introduce Coda Capper Beast, though. How we doing?
We're doing good. It was a good weekend of football. We got some big time matchups coming up, and the conference championships, obviously. So I thought it was a good weekend of football. I mean, it was a bummer to see the Cowboys go down. But,
yeah, we had a lot of the boys in the group chat were with us, but didn't go our way. Again, I will do my little Cowboys rant when we get to the Cowboys game. We're gonna go in order, so it'll be the last game we talk about. But yeah, I don't know how your picks did. I think you did okay from what I can remember, but I did so bad. So to the people out there, if you tailed PG hard this weekend, I'm really sorry. It was not a good weekend for us. But with that said, we hit some of our live plays that we threw in on the Twitter Spaces. Like we had some first touchdowns hit and some anytime touchdown scorers hit, some fun stuff. So we had those, which was decent. And shout out to the Beast prop. It's been keeping me going. Our guy Coda Capper Beast will paste it's usually a basketball prop, and you just ride it and it just hits. It's been fun.
Simple.
Yeah, you can talk about it a little bit if you want, because you've been on an insane run, I feel like.
Yeah, no, we the one that we had tonight, we just cashed it in the second quarter, so that's as good as it's gotten. When we're getting these first half winners, it obviously is a good advertisement for the Beast prop there. Yeah. So I think after that one, I just counted up, and it's 55 and 36 on the year. So
that's pretty good.
Not sure what percent that is, but I'm assuming it's somewhere in that 60-ish, 60.
Yeah, whatever. But you loved it. That's the profitable zone right there. So you love to be in that area. No, my picks were just bad. In fact, I posted my bets after the Cowboys game, and just like a screenshot from Action App. It was like, well, at least my bets hit, and it was like 1 for 10 minus almost 7 units. I'm like, God. So I don't know. I had some other plays that we fired live, and like we had the Schultz first touchdown plus 900 that was on there. That wasn't included in my action report. So whatever. It was pretty funny. Not a great week betting, but a great week of football. We should get into it.
Yeah.
Jaguars Chiefs. That was our first game. And I expected the Chiefs to roll, but this was a winner, a rare winner that I had. We had Jags, plus the 9. They had to kind of come back a little bit there in garbage time to do it for us. But hey, we talked about the back door, man. When it's a spread that large in the NFL, with Trevor Lawrence, who's a good quarterback, anything's up for a comeback. So we got to talk about the game a little, though. Kansas City was impressive. The biggest thing in this game, though, Patrick Mahomes goes down for a couple plays with a high ankle sprain. He did end up playing in the second half. Obviously, very hobbled though, and we'll see. I think they said that I don't know that he's in a walking boot. So it's Jalen Hurts that I think they said, I don't know. There's somebody in a walking boot, one of these freaking quarterbacks, but he's got a high ankle sprain. We'll have to see what he looks like for next weekend's game. Good win for the Chiefs there at home. Arrowhead Stadium was rocking. Looked like a good time, but good win for the Chiefs. Great backdoor cover for the Jags.
Yeah, shout out Doug Peterson for taking a field goal with 30 seconds on the clock. Like
I was saying, he should have went for it, because this was a similar scenario to the one we had earlier where we needed a field goal late to cover. When you're down 10, if you get stuck in a spot, just kick that field goal, because you have to get an onside kick anyway. So they actually did that for us, covered the spread.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, it was a good look. It was obviously good for any gamblers out there that were on Jags. We said it was the biggest spread of the weekend, so it obviously paid out to kind of take a big dog. But you're right, Mahomes being down, I think, did play a kind of huge role in this. You wonder if this game may have been a 10+ point win if that didn't happen. But hey, you just got to play the cards as they're dealt. So that's exactly what happened. And so we'll see. I'm hoping he's healthy, just because it will be a bummer if that matchup next week with the Bengals is not so premier if we don't get that
Right.
same Mahomes. But
Chad Henne
yeah,
versus Joe Burrow.
but I mean, technically, Mahomes wasn't like that bad. It wasn't like he really turned the ball over
No,
necessarily. He still
no.
had 2 touchdowns, 73% passing. So like he was just kind of very, I would say he was probably just delicate with like his decisions, and obviously he didn't play the full game. So
A lot
it
more
was,
passes
yeah,
in the game plan, which I was a little upset because I felt like Jacksonville never really adjusted to that. They were like not rushing they were not rushing the quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, who had an ankle injury. They were just kind of playing back, soft coverage, try to just make tackles. And I was like, man, if you could just take away some of these close routes, let your pass rush maybe get to him, see what happens. I mean, but their game
yeah,
plan was different. They got the cover for us, took the L. Good season for them, though. Great way
yeah,
for them to come back, even get a win in the playoffs. Pretty awesome.
right.
Pulled off one of the greatest comebacks. I guess technically it's the most points ever, right, in the playoffs for a
Yeah.
comeback. I think that's right.
Yeah, it was an impressive showing by the Jags. I have to give them credit. The only other note that I have on that game, and just because I know it's going to play a role going forward, is Isaiah Pacheco has come out of nowhere. Not
Mhm.
necessarily nowhere, I shouldn't say that, but like he's really come onto the scene for this Chiefs team, and he was ripping yards on
Yeah.
Saturday. Yeah, Saturday, I guess.
Yep.
He had 95 yards on 12 carries, so 7.9 yards per carry. He had that one that was just probably a 60 or 70-yard run, something like that down the sideline, and we were on his over for rushing yards, so like
Yes.
that did play a big role for us. Like I think he hit it with that big run, so we were going nuts.
Yeah.
But
It was a 40-yard run, but he only needed like wasn't his prop like 56 or something? Like
it was
it was
48
not.
and a half. So yeah, he
Yeah.
pretty much got it
Yeah,
on that run
39
alone.
yards on one carry will do it. He's so
Crazy.
explosive and so fast. Like we may have to just take his over next game too, even though we'll get to it, but the Bengals have a pretty good defensive line.
Right.
That may wrap it up for this game. Fun game. We hit some bets in this one, so that was nice. We started
Yeah.
pretty positive. Moving on to the Giants and the Eagles. This was the Saturday night game, excuse me, prime time. This was the only game that was like truly like out of hand immediately. The Eagles were just dominant. Looking back, kicking myself for not taking the Eagles because that's the way I saw this game going. It was just it's the playoffs, like anything can happen. Instead, I took the over, which Philadelphia offensively did plenty for the over. We just didn't get any effort out of the Giants. They only scored once. It was in the third quarter. A lot of credit to the Eagles, man. They look good. Jalen looks healthy, which I'm really excited about. He didn't run it that much, but he still did have 9 carries and a touchdown on the ground. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing his thing, and I got to respect him for it.
Yeah, I don't want to hate on the Giants too much because I'm sure they've already gotten a ton of that this week and they're going to continue to get it. It's the classic line of like, this is the Giants. We knew they were all
Yep.
along. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people thought they were frauds entering. People thought they weren't going to beat the Vikings. It was a bad performance. Like I gotta admit, like the Eagles demolished them in every shape and form. But this is a really good Eagles team, and I don't know how many other teams would have been able to do much better. Maybe they keep it a little bit closer, but there's a lot of teams out there that the Eagles would have done the exact same thing to. So I don't know. If anybody wants to act like, let's just say Tampa Bay or something like that, if they had that matchup against the Eagles, would have done any better. I don't
Right.
think so. I think the Eagles are just that good, man.
Uh-huh. I think so too. And it kind of stinks now. I'm thinking about if the Cowboys would have matched up with the Vikings again. I think that's how it would have went.
Right.
No, I don't know. I don't even want to. I hate the seating thing, and we've already messed this up a million times. I don't even want to do this. Let's move on to Sunday because it was a big one. Cowboys 12, 49ers 19. Oh, that's the wrong score.
We can
That
go
was
to
the
the
night
next one,
game.
yeah.
Yeah, let's go to Bengals Bills. Okay, Bengals 27, Bills 10. Very surprising, dude. Shout out to the Bengals though, because I had them. We both had them way underrated.
Mm-hmm.
The Bengals looked awesome. Their defense is not getting enough credit though. We are going to sit here and talk about Joe Burrow and like da 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 da, and he did have a good game, but dude, this defense is nasty. Josh Allen had one of his lowest QBRs of the year. 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. He did have that touchdown on the ground rushing, but even as rushing, he was only averaging 3 yards a carry. He only threw for 265 on 42 attempts. It's not very efficient at all. Shout out to the Bengals, man. That team's special, dude. Like, in the snow, they're still doing what they're doing. They're getting guys wide open, whether it's T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Hayden Hurst. I mean, all these guys, they're just open. Tyler Boyd even only had one catch, but it was 23 yards. Like, it's just so explosive that defenses have to respect that so much. It opens up everything else for them. Joe Mixon had 20 carries, 105 yards, and a touchdown on the day. That's one of his best stat lines of the year. So they're starting to run the ball well, even with a banged up offensive line. So, man, I don't know what to think other than I think I just didn't respect the Bengals enough.
Oh, the Bengals are getting everybody involved. Joe Burrow had more rushing yards than Josh Allen did on Sunday. And that's like something that we never really would have expected going into that game.
On fewer carries, too.
Right. On fewer carries. Granted, a lot of that came on like 121-yard run, but still. That's
like a bigger run than Josh Allen had still.
Right. Exactly. And you're right. The fact that you pointed out Joe Mixon, like, I love that, because Joe Mixon, to me, was a little bit of the storyline of that game because he opened everything up. By him rushing all over this Bills defense that was supposed to be stout, with the 3 backup offensive linemen, by the way, that we've talked about all week, and then it didn't really matter. We'll see if it matters this week. It could be a little different. But with that said, Joe Mixon looked great. He was running the ball over the place. 16-yard carry was his longest of the day, but he had multiple that felt like they were at least around that 10 yards. So he was popping off carries left and right. And you're right, that Bengals defense is so nasty when they want to be, because I've seen them have some bad games too, but they're playing their best ball, and that's what you need right now.
They definitely seem up for it, motivated, doing all the good things. It's just an explosive offense, and Joe Mixon specifically in that second half. I don't know what his second half stats were, but that's when it was like they need to just run the clock, get out of here with this win. Yeah. And he just kept picking up first downs, kept taking 8 yards on first down, whatever it was. He caught the ball a few times as well and had some really big runs. And so he just kept that clock moving in the second half, and it was a wrap. Simple as that.
Yep. Yeah, and they also dominated kind of. Time of possession was 33 minutes, almost 34 minutes for the Bengals, and only 26 minutes for the Bills.
Yeah.
It's not a massive difference, but it's enough where in that second half they were able to kind of run away with it, like you said. Couldn't get your defense off the field.
It's just the Bills started so slow. We were instantly 14-0, and they started in a hole. And I'm saying this isn't a Bills team that isn't capable of coming back. But that's a much tougher game plan against a team like the Bengals, who the offense was clearly coming to play. And so if you're going to start down by that many points, you're going to have a long day. And that only touchdown for the Bills, and then the one field goal, that's all the points they had. Now, they had a couple late kind of where they were going for a touchdown and got stopped short of the goal line type of thing. But still, amazing defensive effort. That's the thing with the Bengals, that I feel like it's not going to be talked about enough. We're going to be talking so much about Joe Burrow this week, but really that defense is just, the offense didn't have to play that good and they would have won that game, I don't know.
Yeah, there was a lot of storylines with that game. Even like a small one to just hit on real quick is I don't think I realized how much Hayden Hurst would play a role in that game too at tight end.
He was playing great.
They were throwing the ball to him all the time. I know he didn't have like the biggest stat line when you think of like tight ends, but he still had a touchdown. I want to say he had like 60, 70 yards receiving.
Yeah.
Bills didn't really have an answer for him.
Yeah, he came up with a couple huge like third down conversion type catches that were just like all effort, and had to respect him. But yeah, he's kind of another one of the, like, they just have so many weapons that it's easy to forget. Where did he
come from?
Yeah, it's easy to forget that. Oh yeah, I forgot about him. Like, oh yeah, like we were talking about, T. Higgins didn't even have his biggest game ever, but he's still right. Like any game he could have that. Like I think they said last Super Bowl he had 2 touchdowns, right? I think that's what it was.
So yep. I mean, he could pop off too, yeah.
At any point. So like it makes them so dangerous. I'm pouring up a little more Red Bull to talk about this next one because we got to talk about Cowboys, 49ers. Sugar-free Red Bull, by the way. I already said the score earlier. Yeah, no free ads. They should sponsor us. 49ers 19, Cowboys 12. This was in San Francisco. Cowboys underdogs. It was a close game. A lot of people are going to tell you, like, LOL. I'm just going into everything that comes with being a Cowboys fan. LOL Cowboys lost. Everybody's talking about the final play of the game. With Zeke taking the snap from under center. Perfect snap, by the way. People aren't saying it, but perfect snap. Put it right in Dak's hands. Now, he did get drilled into the ground and died shortly after. And then Turpin, the guy who caught that pass, also died. But I have seen more about that one play than I have about any 49ers players, I kind of want to talk about the 49ers because their defense was awesome. The offense was not great. In fact, Purdy should have been picked a couple times by the Cowboys. They didn't do it. But you take what you can get in the playoffs. Like, you just take it. And their offense was good enough. It ran the ball well enough in that second half, especially. They got the job done. Cowboys, I'm a little sad. We actually started that game. It was 7-3 at one point, or 6-3, because we got an extra point blocked, missed another extra point, which was a pretty funny video that I put on Twitter. I told everybody at the house, like, this is going in, let's go. Told my wife to film it because I was going to be like, bam. And I'm standing there with my back to the TV, and the first thing I hear is, "It's no good." And I just was laughing so hard. That's kind of when I knew it could be a cursed game, because the touchdown felt like, oh shoot, that we might have something here. Like, we've been moving the ball. We just scored a touchdown. We're going to be up 4 points here. But then getting that extra point blocked, I could just feel the momentum wasn't right. And then from there, what happened. And Cowboys actually had another lead in this game. Well, they tied the game at 9, I should say. They didn't ever lead, I guess, but they were right there. I just came up a few plays short. Dak had 2 crucial interceptions. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that. They were both in the first half. They were both thrown right to defenders, okay? But the one was pretty unlucky, and I said that in the chat, and then it was like right when the play happened, then I saw a replay and was like, well, the first guy really should have had it, but basically it bounced off his chest and flipped in the air all crazy and went right to another player's hands. So it's a little unlucky, but at the same time, he threw it to the first guy. So I kind of conceded a bit on that point, but it was a tough night, tough way to go, but at least you're going down to a really good team in the 49ers. I give them a really good shot against the Eagles, mostly because of their defensive line. We haven't talked enough about the 49ers defensive line, as crazy as that is to say. Everybody wants to focus on Bosa, but dude, it's not just him. Even when you start to go through the levels, obviously they've got 2 great linebackers, 2 all-pro caliber linebackers. They've also got an all-pro safety that people forget about. He looks like Troy Polamalu out there flying around making tackles. So this team comes and hits you. They play physical. They've got guys like George Kittle who are freaks. Christian McCaffrey's healthy. Even Mitchell, their backup running back, had a good day. He really kind of carried more of the physical load for them, but did a great job. I got to give a lot of credit to them. Good win. Brock Purdy, I'm a little nervous about him. We'll kind of get into the NFC Championship after this, but I'm a little nervous about him. But still, he didn't lose his team this game. There was a couple plays where Cowboys pass rush flushed him out of the pocket, and in college he would have just thrown something up for grabs, because that's what he did when the play broke down. He got a little nervous and he would do something stupid, but here he threw the ball away, was smart with it. They just took some punts, did what they needed to do. Great job by them. Really well coached effort. I was a little salty immediately after, like you're gonna be, but now that I can sit back and look at it, I can say that they were the better team and they deserve to win. So hey, shout out to the 49ers. You got any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, the 49ers defense has always been what, I kind of highlight about that team, and it was the story of that game. And it's sad because when you lose to the 49ers in that fashion, you're like, damn, like if we could have just gotten any offense going, we'd probably win that game. But San Fran, I think they're okay with doing that game plan wise. It makes me very I feel like they're okay. You know what? We'll just kind of sit and we'll take a 19-12 win. They were probably happy going with that. I know that there was probably plenty of things they're like, oh, we should have done this better. But I feel like they were actually comfortable being in a game like that because they trust their defense that much. They probably did feel like that. And I have to give credit, the guys on their defense that we say are the big names. Fred Warner, 9 tackles, had an interception. I want to say he had 1 or 2 other passes that were defended. I mean, he had a huge game in that game. and it's guys like that step up. And obviously Ward, you got both Wards. It's Jimmy Ward and then Charvarius Ward.
I think that's right. Mhm.
I don't know how to say it. Charvarius
The
Ward, whatever.
The Ward bros back there, man.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, both them had pretty decent games. I want to say they each were on quite a bit of tackles in that game. The one shout out I do have for the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, massive game. I want to say he had like 9 or 10 catches,
over 100
yards. Yeah, I mean, he had a huge game. So it was nice to see him kind of getting his, if the rest of the team kind of wasn't. But yeah, it's unfortunate because that is exactly what the 49ers want to do, is just smother you. And I think they probably could have done this to a lot of other teams. I mean, obviously we saw that second half against the Seahawks. Seahawks couldn't move the ball at all. And that's exactly what we saw kind of that whole game against Dallas. Was after they got that early touchdown, they said, okay, now we're going to put the clamps on. And it's unfortunate because they are that good that you could barely move the ball. You know,
you have to, when you're the underdog like the Cowboys were on the road, you against what I think is a better roster in the 49ers, you have to capitalize on every little tiny mistake they make. And Cowboys definitely didn't do that at all. And yeah, you know, all the credit goes to the 49ers. Great team, great coached. I'm ready to talk about next weekend, though.
Yeah,
we're going to just do kind of short, instant kind of thoughts on the game, see what we're thinking or how we see it playing out. Let's start with the NFC Championship. That's the first game. It's a 2 p.m. game on Sunday on Fox. 49ers obviously going to Philadelphia to play the Eagles. Eagles 2.5-point favorites, over under a 45.6. As of right now, the weather looks decent. I mean, it looks like what you'd expect in Philly. It's like 37, and kind of cloudy, gray day. My instant thoughts are the Eagles aren't going to drop those interceptions. They're going to come up with those because that's just what they do. They got a bunch of dogs. I would lean under as well, but we're going to get in there and look at this because I just think they have an even better defensive line than the Cowboys do. And when the Cowboys did get back there and affect Purdy, you could tell like the 49ers offense just kind of would start kind of crumbling down. But when they got to start by running the ball for 5-6 yards, it was a wrap. You know what I mean? So it's all about stopping that first down play, which I think this defensive line for the Eagles is a little bit stouter than the Cowboys. I don't know what the statistics say. I just know they've got some eaters, guys like, their rookie, I think his last name's Davis. Is that right? And then they've got Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham and just like all these dudes that have been there forever. So they've got a good mix of young talent and some old dogs that are just dogs. And they're at home. Brock Purdy on the road in the playoffs is going to be tough. So I lean Eagles right now, but I'm interested to hear what you think.
Yeah, it's fair because it's such a close spread. It's tough because if it was to hit 3, I think I would probably lean with San Fran. Yeah. But if you could get it down to like maybe, a pick 'em or like a -1.5, maybe there's more value on the Eagles. The look that I really have on this game is I'm going to go with the under, or at least like that's where I'm looking right now. I shouldn't say that's an official play or anything, but that's where I'm leaning at 45.5 or 46, wherever you get that at. I just really do think you're spot on that Eagles defensive line is nasty. They got a couple really solid players in the secondary and linebackers too. They have just as good as a defense as anybody else. But I think the 49ers defense is even better. And I think the 49ers would be, once again, I think they'd be okay with slowing this game down and getting into just an absolute gridiron, just like
a match.
Yeah, just a battle in the cold weather of Philly. You know what I mean? And it's probably going to be cold, I would imagine. We're getting some of that snow and stuff coming in. So
yeah, coming up to the north. Yep.
Yeah, because like Wednesday for me in Michigan, it's going to be snowing. I don't know what that means for by Saturday.
I mean, I assume it would be moving to the east, right? Y'all's stuff. I mean,
it just depends if it's going, north as well. But still, but I think it's going to be a perfect script for an under. One of the thoughts that I had entering all of the playoff talk was when we were talking about, what if the Lions made it? The thought to me always was like, we would have played San Fran, and I would have hated that matchup because I think San Fran would have just chokeholded us and just strangled us to death, and that's what they do. And I do think that that's going to be their thought in this game again.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's the script for sure. I mean, I don't even think the Eagles would hate playing a little bit slower pace too, although they have a little more capabilities just because they're better at quarterback that they can play a little more wide open style. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try to go a little hurry up and just kind of rush,
Maybe.
go quick down the field and make the 49ers have to score a bunch of points. But easier said than done against this 49ers defense, as we said all episode.
Yep.
So that'll be fun. And again, we'll talk about these games again on Thursday, be
100%.
Friday morning for you guys. Then we've got Bengals Chiefs at 5:30 again, that kind of earlier in between slot, which I didn't hate because after the Cowboys game, like I did a full post game Twitter space.
It wasn't
and
too late.
People were, and so I was in there for a while and I ended and it was only like 9:30 and I was like, dude, let's go.
Yeah.
So you can't hate on that too much. It'll be fun. So Bengals at Chiefs, interesting matchup. I'm showing, of course, this is ESPN, so a lot of times their numbers are a little off, but I'm showing Cincinnati's actually favored in this one. And I assume that's because of the status. We don't know for sure where Mahomes is going to be. Over under 47. So that would tell me that he probably is going to play, but they just don't know if he's 100% or not. So immediately I'm kind of leaning towards Bengals, although I wish they were the underdogs, even by the book standards. I'm sure they're going to go into Kansas City and feel like underdogs, but I always just like it when you can get a little plus sign next to your number. But either way, this game's going to be right. I mean, it's going to be close, kind of like we talked about earlier. These are two great teams, though, man. We'll have to see how the Super Bowl looks, but I wouldn't be shocked if this is, number 1 versus number 2 as far as power rankings or whatever go. Yeah. I kind of like the Bengals, though, man. I just love what they saw because if Mahomes is back there and he's a little hobbled, they can get pressure with that defensive line. They proved that. So if they don't have to bring extra guys, they can just get out in coverage. There are flaws that the Bengals defense has, but like the main one that comes to mind is Eli Apple, but he did okay last game. Like they targeted him a lot, but he didn't give up that much. And when you target him, that's usually means you got to go down the field and the quarterback's got to sit in the pocket for a long time. I don't think they're going to give the Chiefs time in the pocket. So I kind of lean Bengals right now, but we'll have to see what the news looks like. If you're one that thinks, okay, for sure Mahomes is going to be out and you want the Bengals, you should jump on the Bengals now, because if he is confirmed out, then if he's confirmed in, I don't expect the line to move much, but if he's confirmed out, you might be looking at Bengals -3 or 3.5, or maybe even more than that. We'll have to see how much Mahomes is worth to the books, but hopefully he plays, as we said earlier in the episode, because that'd be a much more entertaining game. But you got any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, PG, we're gonna have to put on our little Sherlock Holmes caps during the week this week, and we'll try to figure out if Pat Mahomes is gonna be 100%. Like, what is his status gonna be? Because that's the other thing is, just because he gets confirmed in doesn't mean that he's gonna be playing at 100%. And Pat Mahomes, when he can't really run around in the pocket and stuff, might have some issues. If the Bengals bring pressure and you have a Mahomes that's only running like 2 miles an hour, around, it does make it a little bit trickier, because a big part of his game is you see him on the run doing these little sidearm passes and everything.
Moving around.
That's his game, and he doesn't mind running it if there's nothing open. If he can't do that, that suddenly takes a bit away, like a lot of what that Chiefs team has. So we'll have to be kind of scouting it out for this week.
And I just wanted to say it's his right ankle as well. So a quarterback that's right-handed would push off of that ankle,
right,
or that leg really, but that ankle, and to drive the ball down the field. So if they've got to throw a bunch of short routes and the Bengals kind of know what's coming, you just make yourself one-dimensional in a way on that. So
yep.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, the only other thing I had to note really for that game is just for anybody that's out there that might be thinking, oh man, like got to get this value on, Chiefs. If you're really thinking, get them as an underdog right now. They are 7-1 at home this year. So if you're about the whole, home field advantage, it's pretty hard to beat. And it goes the same way with the Eagles in that NFC matchup. They're 7-2 at home. So if you're somebody that's a big believer in home field advantage, these are close enough spreads where you could take a money line and be okay.
Those are two really good crowds as well. Like the home field advantage for both those teams actually means something, where there's other cities. The first one that comes to mind is LA, where home field advantage is not a thing at all, because half the crowd's going to be the other team anyway. Both of these stadiums, so for the Eagles, it'll be green, and for the Chiefs, it'll be red. Now, I will say the Bengals traveled pretty well in their last game. You heard a bunch of Houday chants going on in Buffalo, which was kind of surprising, but these are some real home field advantages that these teams have. So we're going to keep an eye on it. These lines will move all week. It's kind of why we mentioned where they were now, because when we go to record Thursday night, it could be in a totally different position, especially that Chiefs-Bengals game because of our guy, Patrick Mahomes. We just got to see where he's at because, he moves the line a lot, whichever way. So
Right.
I don't know. I would think, though, that if you want to get the Chiefs, if you really think he's 100%, you do it now because I don't think him getting put in gives you a better number. It's going to make you have a worse number. So unless you're just really wanting to wait on the news, which is a smart thing to do, then just wait. But that's why we're here. We're here to give you some ideas, though. That's all it's about.
Yeah.
I guess that wraps up the show. You got any kind of final thoughts?
No real final thoughts. I'm excited to break it all down on Thursday. It is going to be a little bit different. We'll be bringing in some different angles. Because me and PG said the smaller the slate gets, the more we have to kind of get creative on finding. That's how we did props last week, and we'll try to bring in some different angles because it's hard to just have one or two plays on those two games. So we'll try to have a couple plays for you that maybe might be more in the weeds than you guys are expecting, But
those are so fun to take because then if you're really torn, I don't know if I want the Bengals or the Chiefs, but I can have this little fun prop that I can cheer for, and I can still just watch this good game. So props are great. And they've honestly been good to us in the playoffs so far.
I think so, yeah.
Knock on wood. But we will be back on Thursday. It'll be Friday morning for you guys. Can't wait. Appreciate you guys listening. Peace.
Peace out.